Hidden Glories of Srila Prabhupada. Chapter 3. External Investigation. The need for an independent, impartial, external investigation. After the evidence presentation in Someone Has Poisoned Me 1999, the GBC organized their fraud cover-up book Enti-Api in 2000 and pretended it was all a nonsense conspiracy theory. The GBC has never completed an honest investigation, and that has held true for the child abuse scandal, the guru appointment hoax, and Srila Prabhupada's poisoning. Only when they are compelled by circumstances and obvious facts do they slowly respond as though they knew nothing all along, and there was nothing they could have done about it anyway. Rascal! Corrupt mismanagement. Since 1997, some of Srila Prabhupada's disciples outside the ISKCON institution have investigated the unusual circumstances surrounding Srila Prabhupada's departure, working independently with their own resources. Early on, they knew that if the truth was to be discovered, it would be by their own endeavors, as ISKCON has always obstructed and opposed the discovery of the key truths. While ISKCON was denying, confusing, lying, deceiving, and whitewashing, a real investigation had been underway, and sufficient evidence has now been accumulated to establish the certainty of Srila Prabhupada's chronic and malicious homicidal cadmium poisoning, see Part 5. Although Srila Prabhupada's poisoning has been investigated to the point of certainty that it actually did happen, there remain some open questions. The primary ones are: who was involved, who knew about it, and who did what? The private investigation was opposed at every turn by an uncooperative, hostile ISKCON, which has banned internal discussion of the issue or its members' participation in any investigation. Those who do are deemed envious, poisonous, agents of Kali, etc. When we tried to interview various devotees, most had no interest in helping, made no reply, did not remember anything, or did not want to remember anything. The search for the truth in this matter has been met with much hostility. Many feared retribution or loss of privileges should they be associated with the poison conspiracy theory. We are portrayed as offenders, fault-finders, and troublemakers. Yet, the evidence has piled up and speaks convincingly for itself. To find the truth about the suspicious circumstances surrounding Srila Prabhupada's disappearance pastimes, there was no choice but to organize a private effort outside the boundaries of the ISKCON institution. Heuristic investigation process has determined proof of poisoning. A heuristic process is an educational method where learning occurs through discoveries resulting from investigations made by the student-disciple. This private investigation was heuristic, as each discovery built upon others, dispelling myths and revealing truths. From the discovery of the poison whispers in 1997, the evidence continued to accumulate. We have assembled, organized, and explained the evidence to make sense out of it all, to counteract misunderstandings and the motivated denials, fraud, and lies from ISKCON misleaders. The phony ISKCON investigation presented in their Book of Denials, Not That I Am Poisoned, was a sham whitewash and classic cover-up by the suspects themselves. However, the private investigation has established heuristically that Srila Prabhupada's poisoning is now a proven fact. Who is behind this book? A global body of very serious and dedicated followers of Srila Prabhupada, with massive resources, have been working quietly for years to bring these issues to full understanding in all the different forums trying to follow Srila Prabhupada. No stone will be left unturned in establishing the truth in facts and philosophy on all these issues, and doing what is necessary to drive out the deviations and give back to Srila Prabhupada his global mission the way he wants it. All we want is the truth. If it is being hidden from us, then we will go looking for it, and find it we did. Naveen Krishna Das, 2020. Working together, these individuals searched for an identity moniker and agreed upon Prabhupada Truth Commission, a fully independent panel, not politically aligned or otherwise biased, adopting freedom of thought and expression as essential for spiritual advancement and the discovery of truth. Unfortunately, the corrupted ISKCON does not want truth and resorts to political repression to maintain institutional control and an artificial organizational harmony. Civil philosophical discussion and exchange of views and realizations is healthy because it helps an individual to attain self-fulfillment. It assists in truth discovery. It strengthens the capacity of an individual in participating in decision-making. It assists us to form our own beliefs and communicate them freely to others. Prabhupada Truth Commission is an informal association of followers of Srila Prabhupada dedicated to researching the truth of Srila Prabhupada's disappearance pastimes. This book is a collaborative effort by devotees, some junior, some senior, aiming to uphold the truth and please Srila Prabhupada, wanting the facts and evidence properly presented as a record for the future. Input came from many worldwide. Many who had never met each other in person. Much of the forensic tests and early investigation work up until 2005 was undertaken and coordinated by Naveen Krishna Das, Jitarati Das, Mandapa Das, and Nityananda Das. Historical information, essays, and philosophical materials were collected from many sources. Input on Srila Prabhupada Siddhanta came from Yasodanandana Das, Dhira Govinda Das, Narasimha Das, and others. Nityananda Das did compilation, composition, and editing, with advice and contributions from many. Our appreciation to the authors of the materials used herein, much of it without due credit. We ask pardon for these and other shortcomings. Former temple presidents and GBC members contribute. Former temple presidents, GBC members, and other senior devotees have supported the private investigation and production of this book. None from inside ISKCON have contributed much, save a few sympathetic moles. Those in exile, either forced out or self-imposed, have worked together to establish and distribute the truth in a struggle against the cover-ups and stonewalling from ISKCON. Where's the proof? When Praladananda Swami began to annually visit Australia some years ago, a few devotees approached him. They saw he was not like the rest of the ISKCON GBC and gurus they had seen. He seemed gentle, honest. They explained the problems in the Australian yatra, how local GBC and temple presidents were engaged in improprieties, illegalities, abuse, mismanagement, self-dealing, and corruption. Listening carefully, when they were done and hoping for a brighter future, he replied, "Where's the proof?" That was the end of their hopes. The barrier was impenetrable. The corruption had seeped into every nook of the institution, even Praladananda Swami. They hoped he would follow up in some way, maybe bring it up at the next Mayapur annual GBC meeting, or discuss their complaints with local Australian leaders. But nothing happened. Nothing changed. Book 2, Chapter 142. The rank and file must lead the way. There is no credibility to the idea of an internal ISKCON investigation into Srila Prabhupada's poisoning, because ISKCON is anti-truth and has only engaged in denials and deceitful cover-ups. See Part 7. But the external investigation has proven that there was heavy metals poisoning, although there are areas which require further investigation. Private investigation since 1997 was the most productive avenue of progress, and ultimately government must take up the matter. Suspects may confess or not, they may all die, yet Srila Prabhupada remains in his Vrindavan Samadhi as the ultimate preserved evidence, and he will be there for a long time. ISKCON increasingly resorts to tactics of repression, fear, institutional pressure, cover-ups, dishonesty, influencing, bribery, and deceit. ISKCON's non-cooperation and harboring of the suspects and their followers reveals a spiritually compromised institution. Truth is the topmost virtue. Neither the suspects nor ISKCON will cooperate with old-line methods, such as successive interviews and cross-examination, unless forced by state agencies to do so. They have a lot to hide for as long as they can. ISKCON struggles to maintain the allegiance and loyalty of its members by insisting on its official narrative that there is no poisoning evidence. It bans open thinking, discourse, and an honest atmosphere based on facts and evidence whereby intelligent persons can independently discern truth. It imposes its self-serving interpretations by claiming divine privileges, using coercive measures and unethical means to influence its members. This is done by rewriting history, propaganda campaigns, sanctions against those with opposing or unapproved views, and sponsoring false witnesses. Mundane political expediencies, however, will fail in concealing truth forever. ISKCON's corruption is a disease which will gradually kill the host. Pity those whose sincerity is eviscerated in hopeless servitude to such a polluted institution. Judge for yourself. 2003 exposed the GBC's lies and deceit in its cover-up of Srila Prabhupada's poisoning. Almost the entire GBC book NTIAP 2000 is untrue. Devotees wanted and deserved a comprehensive, truly independent probe into the poison issue, but this was obstructed by the GBC. Their book has fraud, omissions, distortions, and distractions. The prime poisoning suspects in the GBC opposed an honest investigation, and they resorted to dirty tricks to discredit the poison theory. But the truths about Srila Prabhupada's life and pastimes cannot be hidden. Enlightenment of one devotee at a time is how real and positive change will take place in the Hare Krishna movement as the Golden Age continues to progress. To investigate and properly deal with this issue, we will not look to corrupted leaders, but do it among honest devotees. No matter what the evidence is, ISKCON leaders say, where's the proof? Or take it to the legal authorities. In the face of final, solid proof, they pretend it is faulty, invalid, and inconclusive. This is their duplicity. This kind of cheater must be forced to take the medicine of truth. On their own, they never will. That force comes with a revolution of consciousness and a grassroots rebellion. It is our duty to defend Srila Prabhupada and his movement from those who have poisoned his body and mission. We could not stop the poisoning in 1977, but at least we can act now to protect his mission from the presence and contaminating deviations of his poisoners. Some are certainly still within Srila Prabhupada's institution, and they, their followers, and their influence must be identified and removed once and for all. The truth of Srila Prabhupada's final transcendental pastimes will be made known. This crime is perhaps the most serious against God, humanity, truth, and spirituality since at least the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Unfortunately, the nature and circumstances of crimes of poisoning often do not lend themselves to easy legal indictments or convictions. This book is not intended to be a prescription for legal action and remedies. It is meant to enlighten Srila Prabhupada's followers about the facts and real evidence about Srila Prabhupada's poisoning in full detail, and to counteract the ISKCON cover-ups. Our forum to promote justice and historical truth is the public domain. Solid proof of the crime is now in hand and will eventually result in further verifying evidence and identification of all the poisoners. We also have the difficult task of restoring the mission that has been corrupted by the poisoners. With the mountain of evidence that Srila Prabhupada was intentionally poisoned, how can one remain silent? Silence and complicity are close friends. This is not entertainment reading to then forget about. There is already too much history in ISKCON of the privileged few hiding truths from the rest of us. And this is not a matter of airing our dirty laundry in public. It is a question of defending Srila Prabhupada, the truth, and his mission, which is the prime benediction for humanity. Devotees deserve to know the truth. We hope this book on the internal and external features of Srila Prabhupada's transcendental mystical disappearance pastimes will be useful to the devotees. We pray for purity of purpose.